they had party lines where you had so many people on the line. It worked the same way. If they were talking on the phone, the phone was busy, you had to wait till they decided that their conversation was over, then you could use the phone. Otherwise, you could not call nobody if it was emergency or whatever it was.
If it's an emergency, you had to wait. You get on. Can you get on there and tell them you need the phone?
If you had an emergency and you asked somebody to let you have the phone, most of the time they would comply. A lot of people, it made them mad when you wanted to use the phone. They thought they was on the line that belonged to them, so they didn't want to give the line up for anybody else, even in an emergency. So you couldn't call a doctor or nothing as long as they were talking on the line.
I remember when I was a little girl, when we go, Mom Russell had a phone and they had a party line.
Yeah, well, I said you could pick the phone up and hear them talking because it was all on the same party line.
Yeah, for hours at a time, you couldn't use
And
phone.
like I say, if you need to make a call, you could politely ask them if you could use the phone that you needed to make a phone call. They could either say, okay, give me about 5 minutes, or they could just keep on talking all day long. And a lot of them would do that just for spite to keep you from using the phone.
And more women would.
Huh?
And more women would.
Didn't Reba work for the telephone company or something, or Jerlene or Erlene? Jerlene worked for the telephone company in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
What did she do? She ran them party lines,
Made the
switchboards.
phones. She probably made the phones.
I thought there was a picture of Reba Ballard
She did too.
in
yeah.
a paper years ago.
Yeah, Reba did too. When they lived up there, she worked at the telephone company too.
And nowadays, how much the system has changed.
You left that's Regina.
You
She
can
might
call,
remember.
you can call any phone in the country.
She might remember.
If it's already in use, you can still get through on most of them. If it's a business line, you can still get through on most of them. Give you an example. It ain't been but about maybe 3 years at the most. You could call the obituary line at Tribbles or Strode. If somebody was making a call to their number at that time, you always got a busy signal. You'd have to call back later. Now, 2 or 3 years later, it's been updated, the technology has, to where it don't matter how many people are calling their line, everybody gets through.
Not necessarily.
I don't know how that works, it's technology.
Well, a lot of people tells me my line's busy a lot lately.
I can sit here on my phone and call a number on a cell phone, and Barbara can sit here and call the same number on her house phone, and we can both listen to the same message at the same time.
Because it's a recording.
Yeah. Just 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, you couldn't do that. I don't believe when we had like mail in the country. The city had their addresses, but the country, you was a rural. You was outside the city. You were rural. You had a rural route number, and the best I can remember, we had like a Route 5.
We had Route 4.
If you lived down at Fountain Run, I don't know, for instance, you might have a Route 7. Or if you lived at Bud Tussle, you might have a Route 9. I don't know what the numbers were, but that's the way it worked.
Down at Ebenezer, it was Route 4.
Well, whatever
And
it
now it's
was,
numbers.
whatever it was, that's how
Now
it
it's
worked.
Roddenwood Road.
You didn't have no 360 Clark Street.
Now it's Roddenwood Road down there.
We're out in the county, so this has been rural route, whatever number we had.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's the way it is down Candy's now.
Like we'd be rural route 1 and she'd be rural route 2, or is it all same number?
Everybody that lived in a certain area had the same route to mail delivered to, so they were like Route 5.
Yeah, like
Maybe
down-
these people
down
lived over
Royce,
here
it
with
was
Route 7.
4.
These
Everybody
people
had
lived down
Route
here with Route 9. And that's the only house number you had was your route. You didn't have no street signs, or house number, or nothing else. You didn't have no 911 to for them to come looking for your address. You didn't have none of that back then. Back then, when I remember as a kid growing up, the funeral homes run the ambulance service. Greg Tribble will probably tell you a whole lot about that. During the funeral service, I